So let's move on to the next hadith, inshallah. This is hadith number 8. A man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and he asked, الرجل يقاتل حمية ويقاتل شجاعة ويقاتل رياء فأي ذلك في سبيل الله. So he said that if a man, or there's a man who fights for pride, for his own pride, for some kind of pride, or he fights because he wants to show his courage, right? Or he's fighting just so that other people can see, like, look, he's fighting, right? Showing off, exactly. فَأَيُّ ذَلِكَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. So the man asked, which one of this is for the sake of Allah? Okay? Look at what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. مَنْ قَاتَلَ لِتَكُونَ كَلِمَةُ اللَّهِ هِيَ الْعُلْيَا فَهُوَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. He responded, whoever fights so that Allah's name becomes higher, basically for the sake of deen and for the sake of Allah, and the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ulya, meaning it's higher, then that is for the sake of Allah. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. Look at how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not answer really the question directly. The man gave him three choices, right? One who's fighting for some kind of pride, one who's fighting for some kind of bravery, one who's fighting for just to show off. He's like, it's not about those choices at all. What is the choice about? If his niyyah has ikhlas in it. Remember ikhlas, we're going back to the first class discussion where we talked about ikhlas. Ikhlas comes from khalasa, which means to empty yourself, to empty out impurities, right? And to make your heart as pure as possible. And in Islam, ikhlas means to make your intentions purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you don't have any ulterior motives. So look at this person who's fighting for some kind of pride. Do people fight for some kind of pride? Maybe they're fighting for their gang, right? They're fighting each other for their gang. Or they're fighting each other, let's say, for their family. They're fighting each other, let's say, for some kind of their land. Let's say they're fighting for their land. So let's talk about patriotism for a second. Patriotism, you understand patriotism, right? We're all patriots here, yeah? Is it a good thing to be a patriot? Yes. Your love, if it does not connect back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has no value. So if you're patriot, just because you feel like, oh, you're Bangladeshi or Vietnamese or Peruvian or Chinese or Pakistani or Arab, or, Saudi or Jordanian, just for the sake of being Jordanian or being Peruvian or being Chinese, that is not a good thing. Okay? Just remember, the boundaries of our countries, they're artificial. They're not made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're made by people. They're made by politics, they're made by war. They were lines that were, for example, the line between, there's mostly Desi people here, so I'll speak about India, Pakistan. The line between India and Pakistan was not created by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was not created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was created by the British people. Okay? So if I step over the line, suddenly I'm not in Pakistan anymore, I'm in India. That makes no sense, right? It makes zero sense. Your love, your patriotism, if it is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you say, okay, this is our land that protects the Muslims and Islam inside of it. Make sense? This is land that protects the Muslims and Islam inside of it. Suddenly now, you're connecting your niyyah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then patriotism is good. Make sense? Patriotism just for the sake of tribalism, or nationalism is not good. Is not good. A lot of people do that. Saudis like Saudi just for the sake of Saudi. Yemenis like Yemenis just for the sake of Yemen. You know, Egyptians like, I don't want to, I'm just not picking on Arab countries. I'm trying to name different countries so we can get a little bit diverse. So this is what it is. So fighting for pride is not good. Your pride should be fighting for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. The other person who's fighting for bravery. So what he wants people to recognize is, look, he's brave. He's so brave. He's fighting so valiantly, right? Look at him. Look at him, how he swings the sword, and how he, I don't know, hits the bullet where it's exactly on the target, or whatever it might be. Look, he's going barehanded. He doesn't have anything on it. He just wants to give up his life. Just look how brave he is. If that's what he's thinking to go and fighting, then even though he's fighting for a good cause, but that's not his niyyah. He's not, that his dying in that battle has zero value for him in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because he did it for himself. He was brave for himself, not for any other reason. And obviously this is an easy one. وَيُقَاتِلُ رِيَاءً. And one who is fighting just to show off, obviously he's doing it. It's very obvious, he's just fighting to show off. If somebody kicks you out of your house, you have the right to protect yourself, right? And defend your own property. If you're fighting for your land, it means that there's another nation who's going to come and kill all the people, or displace all the people, remove them from their homes, do harmful things to you because they don't care about you. They're not your race, or whatever kind of colonialism, that kind of thing. They're gonna come and spread corruption of whatever sort. So if you're fighting for that, that is a good thing.
Exactly.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
if it's not connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the order and the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you're trying to protect the deen, you're trying to protect life because you care about life for the sake of Allah. All of those things is all good.
I love
it's
my
all
country
good
for the sake of Allah.
Yes, absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. So I think it's connected, right?
Exactly.
It has to be connected. Okay, so let's look at a couple of hadith here. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a separate. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it talked about three types of people. So he said the first of them is a man who died as a martyr, right? Who was a shaheed. He died as a martyr, he was a shaheed, and he was brought in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks him, what did you do? He says, I died for your sake, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you told a lie. That is a lie. You did not die for me. You died, you fought that you might be called a brave warrior. And you were called so and so. So then the order was given that he will enter hellfire. Because who knows the true intentions is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can pretend, we can all pretend to be whoever we want, but we will be judged in the end of the day, on the day of judgment, because based on our niyyah, right? Okay, I know these are a little bit dense, morbid topics, kids, but just stay with me. It's all about niyyah, right? It's all about what is in your heart is what matters. You can pretend and put any kind of face outside for people, for the sake of people, and we do. All of us are guilty for all. We all put a face in front of people. We all kind of hide what our true intentions are. And that is okay because we're human beings, okay? At the end of the day, what matters is you connect it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You say, okay, I don't really like this person, but I'm gonna be nice to this person. Why? Because for the sake of Allah. I'm gonna be just nice to them, right? They hurt my feelings, but I'm gonna be good to them anyway because for the sake of Allah. So if you connect it back to Allah every single time, just always remind yourself every single time, am I doing something, am I holding something back or doing something extra? Is it to show to people or is it for the sake of Allah? So if I'm in the masjid and I'm praying, I usually don't pray extra nawafil or extra sunnahs. I don't pray at home. But in the masjid, there's people over there, so I'm going to pray extra nawafil. Who am I really praying the nawafil for? It's for the people. It's for the people. Just to show off to people. Right? Okay, look at this other man. Here is a person who was a reciter of the Quran and a scholar. He's got a lot of knowledge of the deen. He recites the Quran really well. He's brought in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks him, what did you do? He's like, I acquired knowledge and I shared knowledge. I taught people knowledge and I taught people the Quran, seeking your pleasure, O Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, you're a liar. You only did this so that you will be called an alim. You did this so people will say you're a good reciter, right? And then order will be given that he will enter hellfire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect me and everybody. And then there's a third kind of person who was a rich man, who was an extremely wealthy man, and he was brought in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the same question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him, what did you do? He's like, I spent money in every cause that is associated with you, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I spent a lot of money in your name, O Allah. Okay, Allah will say, no, you are a liar. You did it so that people will call you very generous. You only did it so that people will call you generous. You didn't do it for my sake. Right? You wanted your name out there. And then you will be told to go to the hellfire. Hadith, authentic. Okay? We need to be super careful. Very, very careful about our intentions. Everything boils down to intentions. It doesn't matter how good our actions seem to others. Doesn't matter how you have programmed yourselves even. How good actions seem to you. Oh, I am doing the right thing. I'm doing this for a good cause. I'm doing this. Be very, very vigilant and careful about what your true intentions are. And if you sense that your intentions are multiple, it is for the sake of Allah, but it's also for this and also for this and also for this, technically there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, technically, you can have such intentions, it's okay. But that should be a danger zone thing for you. If you have these mixed intentions, then there might be some time that you're doing a lot of good deeds and your intentions, because we're human beings and we're selfish, our intentions, we'll forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'll do things just for the sake of what's around us and how we see. Okay? So we need to be extremely careful about that. Okay. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all strong. So it is continuously, all the time, it needs to be the habit of dhikr almost. Just like you would do dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that should be the habit that you need to be constantly thinking about. Is my intention pure? I'm going to do this, is my intention pure? I'm going to do this, is my intention pure? And if your intention is not pure, try your best to purify it, but don't give up. Like, let's say I'm in the masjid and I'm going to pray extra nawafil to show off to people. Then I realize when I'm about to say Allahu Akbar, right? I'm praying the nafil, or in the salah, shaitan comes and tells me, look, you're praying this extra long rak'ah and you're making this extra long sajda, or whatever, you're playing this nafil for the people, not for Allah. Don't stop. Because shaitan is going to come and put this waswasa in your head. Look, don't do the good thing. Don't do the good thing. So we need to just correct your niyyah inside the salah and continue on. You understand? Shaitan is going to come and tell you you're a bad person. Your intention is not pure. Don't do this. You'll seem like you're showing off. The opposite is also true. So not only we have to fight our ego, ourselves, that we need to seem good, but we need to fight shaitan as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy on us, because it's very difficult. It's extremely difficult because shaitan is coming and telling us, you're a horrible person, you show off. And our nafs is telling me, oh, I need to show off because I need people to recognize my contribution. So we're getting hit from all sides. It's very difficult. It's extremely difficult. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. So that's what I'm saying. Continuously reminding yourself of the purity of your intentions is key. Okay, let's move on to another hadith. So this is a story. I'm not going to read the whole wording. Maybe I'll just tell you the hadith. There was a warrior at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam during the battle of Khaybar. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the people before he went into the battle, he is from the people of fire. And people are like, okay. And then he started fighting. And he fought so bravely. He did this and that and this and that and this and that. And the people went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Rasulullah, you said that he is from the people of hellfire, and look how bravely he's fighting. And then they realized very soon after he got hurt really badly. The fighter who was fighting very bravely, he got hurt really badly. So badly, he was in so much pain that he took an arrow from his quiver and committed suicide. That's how much pain he was in. Because he killed himself. And then people like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you were right. He is from the people of the fire. Why did he commit suicide? Was he fighting for Allah, or was he fighting for himself so that he can seem brave? He was fighting for himself, so people would call him brave. And when push comes to shove, he couldn't handle it anymore. He killed himself, even though it was haram to. We're not supposed to commit suicide. So anyway, it all goes back to the purity of intention. Okay, let's move on.